Enactus – это радость. Я рад защищать цвета своей страны.
Enactus – это возможность раскрыть свои внутренние таланты.
Enactus – это воплощение своих идей в реальность.
The international non-profit organization Enactus unites students and business representatives from all over the world.
Enactus для меня – это постоянное развитие и возможность представить свои идеи на масштабной арене.
Enactus – это шаг в светлое будущее.
Enactus – это команда единомышленников.
Projects, along with their creators, compete with each other for a cash prize and additional business opportunities. Recently, another Enactus World Cup of Students Entrepreneurship has been held in the Silicon Valley. We came here with 3 projects that we were implementing during the whole school year. The first project is connected with the rehabilitation of former convicts. The second one is rather ecological. We've created an alternative energy source and brought it to people. And our third project is connected to the support of people with disabilities. During the 3 days of the championship, Kazakhstan students not only performed on their own, but also attended presentations from other teams and many other events. Getting a new life experience is one of the goals pursued by the organizers. No less important are new acquaintances. Such a large meeting is a real cultural exchange because this competition gathered young people from 36 countries. A nation that does not know its past has no future. This statement is quite a lot 100 years old. The past lives in the cultural heritage and any nation has it. Today, a separate UN organization, UNESCO, is preserving cultural heritage around the world. In 1972, the Convention on the Protection of the World Cultural and Natural Heritage was adopted for the first time. It was about the protection of monuments of art, architectural complexes and natural ensembles. This document showed the will of the world community.
In a way, heritage, cultural heritage, natural heritage, somehow is a concentration of our history, of our past, of the beliefs and of the traditions of our predecessors. So I think that cultural heritage and natural heritage, of course, too, they have an intrinsic value. So that it's important for us, for our identity, for ourselves, to understand who we are by knowing our history, our past, by understanding our heritage.
The Convention on the Protection of Cultural Heritage entered into force in 1975. Since then, several changes and additions have been made to it. In 2001, a fundamentally new concept was formulated at the UNESCO conference, Intangible Cultural Heritage. This concept includes traditions, ceremonies, language, music, legends, and much more. In 2003, the Convention on the Protection of the Intangible Cultural Heritage was adopted.
So our primary task is, in these countries which have ratified the conventions, to make sure that everybody understands the obligations that come with this convention, with the ratification, that it is reflected in the national legal frameworks, that all different stakeholders are aware of the implications.
Only one organization within the structure of UNESCO, the World Heritage Committee, has the right to include or exclude objects from the World Heritage List. This is usually done at annual sessions. Decisions are made to provide financial assistance to countries in order to preserve the cultural heritage. For 2018, the World Heritage List has 1,092 sites, of which 845 are cultural, 209 are natural and 38 are of a mixed type, which are situated in 167 member countries of the UNESCO Convention for the Protection of the World Cultural and Natural Heritage. These lists are periodically being supplemented and modified. Thus, only in 2018, the Christian churches of Nagasaki, the rock paintings of the Colombian park Chiribucat, and the oasis of Al-Qas in Saudi Arabia were recognized as the World Heritage Sites. In terms of the number of cultural heritage sites, Europe is an undoubted leader, namely the countries of Italy, Spain and Germany. Even this year has been declared the European Year of Cultural Heritage in the region, in order to raise awareness of people all over the world about such valuable objects. This issue is important from both a cultural and an economic point of view. After all, almost 8 million jobs in the European Union are directly related to cultural heritage.
For instance, when it comes to the World Heritage Sites, that for instance the local Akimats understand that the UNESCO label comes with certain strings, but it also brings opportunities, because we know that UNESCO listed sites often attract more tourists, so we also have to make sure that the stakeholders know how to use this UNESCO label, so as to make sure that the sites will be well preserved and safeguarded, but at the same time promoted. So promotion and awareness raising and capacity building are also in our mandate.
Today, the list of World Heritage Sites contains 5 objects from Kazakhstan. These are the Khoja Ahmet Yasawi Mausoleum, petroglyphs of the Tamgali archaeological landscape, Sari Arka steppes and lakes of northern Kazakhstan, objects of the Great Silk Road in the Changan-Tianshan corridor and the mountains of western Tian Shan. In addition, the Republic has ratified 2 major conventions of UNESCO aimed at the preservation of cultural heritage. A pilot project promoting sustainable development through UNESCO objects will be implemented in Kazakhstan.
We also increasingly recognize the fact that cultural heritage can also bring economic benefits for communities. This is, of course, most obvious through tourism. When we have tourists visit Kazakhstan, then they come and visit, of course, the monuments and cities and archaeological sites that tell the story about the past of Kazakhstan. But they also want to interact with local communities to see what kind of musical traditions, what kind of handicrafts you have, that they will want to take back as souvenirs of their trip to Kazakhstan. So it also brings economic benefits.
Intangible cultural heritage of Kazakhstan is also not forgotten. The celebration of Nowruz, the process of cooking flat cakes, traditions of building yurts, dombra and traditional Kazakh wrestling are included in the UNESCO list. Preserving the cultural heritage is extremely important for the self-identification of people in general and of every citizen of the country in particular, experts say.
Our task will be to identify what are the common elements on the Silk Roads, how this has actually embraced or enriched the cultural heritage of these countries, and how we can once again use this heritage for income generation, how we can brand the countries around the brand name of Silk Roads, which is globally known, and how we can bring more tourists to the beautiful region of Central Asia.
That is, new Kazakhstan objects can enter the list of the World Heritage. Then more tourists will come to the country. It is important that UNESCO has set an education of young people as one of its goals. International competition for young entrepreneurs in actors is a great chance to show yourself and see others. The cup attracts students from all over the world, and this is the most progressive part of humanity, followed by the future. The team from Astana, which won the Republican Championship, brought 3 projects to the competition in the USA. I mean ecologically friendly sources of energy. We've created the briquette fuel, in view of the fact that almost every autumn and winter we experience a shortage of coal.
Посодействовать нашему населению.
Alijan himself is from Karaganda. He knows firsthand what difficulties there are with coal in the cold season and how hard it is to mine it. In addition, young people are concentrated about the environmental well-being of their homeland. Two other projects have a social focus. One is aimed at adapting people who have left prison, the other is aimed at training and further employment of people with disabilities. The team of Kazakhstan fell into the same group with the champions of the past years: Great Britain, China, USA and Zimbabwe. This year the first place went to Canada. However, Kazakh students, although did not become champions, have acquired a lot of valuable things for themselves.
Для меня не так важно. Самое главное.
It's not so important for me to become a world champion, because in our project, you know, we all win. Because it is within Inactus that students have a very important impact through entrepreneurial actions. They increase the standard of living, strive to solve very important social and economic problems, using their creative abilities, some interesting business models and so on. So for me it is important that students pump themselves as leaders, as managers, and this gives us a real opportunity to become the leaders.
И это дает нам в жизни серьезную возможность стать крепче на ноги.
At this competition, students acquire the skills that they never had before, develop and mature. Business advisors help them doing this. We have several vivid examples when people who were previously afraid to speak in front of people, they became excellent speakers. There are also people who absolutely didn't have videography skills, and today they're already editors and make excellent videos with such special effects that everyone thinks that we work with professionals. Inactus participants will not necessarily become entrepreneurs. However, they will certainly be able to apply the experience gained at international contests and meetings in their life. Cultural heritage is being saved around the world in the same way. Perhaps the European countries have the greatest experience in this field. People began to think over the fate of historical monuments at the end of the 19th and the beginning of the 20th century. Today, historical buildings in Europe are being protected by several associations. The issue of their preservation is particularly acute due to the fact that privately owned monuments of culture and history are rapidly disappearing. Specialists also try to attract young people to this area. After all, they're introducing modern technologies to promote the historical and cultural heritage in society, and it is them who are active in the attraction of a variety of activities on the territory of historical and cultural complexes, from fairs to film shooting. For Europeans, this is especially important since the annual income from cultural heritage sites and everything connected with them amounts to 500 billion euros annually. The United States have various forms of protection of significant objects. Only in the National Park Service system, there are 24 categories of protected areas, some of which are used for the preservation of historical and cultural phenomena. Historical parks, historic areas, monuments, memorials, battlefields and military parks should be mentioned among the most significant for the protection of cultural heritage and in particular the cultural landscape. The World Heritage Center has recently organized training in Egypt to study eco-friendly creative needlework. As a result, 200 Egyptians learned how to produce and sell eco-friendly handmade products from palm leaves and branches. This contributed to the increase in the number of jobs and income growth, as well as the development of a new community of artisans. The joint UNESCO program identified the need to create dynamic cultural activities for the preservation of cultural heritage in Mauritania. Now in this region, dozens of festivals are being held annually in order to attract a large audience, develop local tourism, and also stimulate income growth and social cohesion of the population. In Benin, the International Fund for Cultural Heritage is developing a new business model for the country's music sector. Thanks to this project, 100 local music outlets will appear in Cotonou, where musicians will be able to present their works. Kazakhstan has set a goal to preserve its cultural heritage in the context of crisis and globalization. Since 2004, at the initiative of the president of the country, the state program Cultural Heritage has started. Significant funds from the state budget were allocated for its implementation. The main task of the program was the systematization, preservation and restoration of historical and archaeological monuments. In 2004-2011, work was carried out on a complete inventory of monuments in Kazakhstan. The state lists of historical and cultural monuments include 218 objects of Republican significance and 11,500 objects of local significance. The Cultural Heritage Program has been replaced by another program of the head of state, Rukani Jangiru. Preserving and enhancing spiritual and cultural values is the main goal of the work of the President's article, Rukani Jangiru, a look into the future. The presentation of the program in 2017 was held in Paris with great success. Also, a great work is being done within the project by our organizations. For example, the National Museum in 2017 started the project, Procession of the Golden Man around the world. This project is still being implemented and on purpose until 2021 to go around many countries.
Данный проект до сих пор реализуется и нацелен до 2021 года объехать множество стран.
Not only the Golden Man strides around the world, the soloists of the Astana Opera have already toured Oman, Hungary and Italy with their tours. The theatre has more than 10 signed memorandums of cooperation with leading theatres in the world, such as La Scala, the Mariinsky Theatre of St. Petersburg, the theatre in Genoa and others. That is, the tour of Kazakh performers will amaze overseas over and over again. And the guests of the country already have the opportunity to see all the diversity of the culture of Kazakhstan within the International Exhibition Expo 2017.
В рамках Рухани Жангру продолжается эта же работа уже в проекте.
In terms of Rukani Jangiru, the same work is going on, already within the project of Sacral Geography of Kazakhstan. Today, the nationwide sacral places of the country and their local significance are being defined. Kazakh electronic sacral geography was developed for the first time and digitized in 3D format. The mausoleum of Khoja Ahmet Yasawi and the mausoleum of Karakan have become the first objects. This work will continue to be done in order to digitize all our cultural objects.
Проводиться с целью цифровизации наших объектов культуры.
UNESCO develops tourism in Kazakhstan in places that international experts consider significant from the point of view of history and culture. Another UNESCO spotlight is the younger generation.
Almaty is now, since 2017, is one of the UNESCO creative cities. So in a way, Almaty has taken upon itself the mission to focus on promoting culture, because they recognize that culture in urban environment is a very important element and very important aspect of life, which actually improves the well-being of inhabitants, but also makes Almaty attractive for foreign visitors.
In summer, a unique training 3rd UNESCO Academy of Creative Arts was held in Almaty. Since 2016, under the auspices of the project, talented young people from UNESCO clubs from all over the country have been gathering there. In 2018, the Academy was devoted to the topic of Rukani Jangiru and is aimed at supporting creative young people in order to shape the country's future potential, develop respect for their native culture, awareness of its value, the importance of preservation and modernization. more than 80 talented teenagers who passed the competitive selection took part in the training. Such events, in the opinion of specialists, help not only to develop the creative ability of young talents, but also to educate young residents of the country who know the history and culture of their native country, who have a broader outlook at the most advanced views.